From Eagle 8 HD, human remains found at Myakkahatchee being examined by a forensics team with the FBI, as the Laundrie family attorney saying in an interview that there is a quote-unquote strong possibility that the remains are Brian. Still, countless questions remain, and we break down what we know here live on WFLA Now. Hey there, everybody. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. On it a little bit later today. Reason being is that Eagle 8 HD encountered some difficulties. The TFR, of course, up over the area of Myakkahatchee where human remains were found yesterday, Wednesday, October 20th, the day that had so many significant developments. We are above the temporary flight restriction, is Eagle 8 HD. This is a short time ago. This is not live, but let's show you full screen here, and you can see for yourself from Eagle 8 HD within about an hour or so ago. And we'll bring this video here into the equation. You can see some of the foot traffic underneath the tree cover here, and there of course have been teams going in and out by that tree area, that area of trees, over the course of this morning, and we'll continue to play Eagle 8 HD so that you can see what Eagle saw again about an hour or so ago. We also have Paul Lamison standing by for a report that he filed while Eagle 8 HD was in the air above Myakkahatchee. And, of course, we have 8 on your side investigator Masa Saidi standing by to join us with what she's working on. She's been working the phones all morning long. And, Masa, if we can bring you in. Yeah, let's bring in 8 on your side investigator Masa Saidi. Hello there, Masa. Hi, what's the latest that you're working on? And we'll allow our audience to build here before we get to some of the newer developments here today. But what are you working on here this hour? It's 1 o'clock, 1:08 Eastern Time.
I mean, we are in touch with so many different authorities to try to get more information on what is happening at this site. Today, I'm in touch with the Sarasota County Coroner, and we do have an update that we're going to send out in just a minute, new information from the coroner. I'm in touch with Northport Police Department. I don't know if our audience had a chance to listen to Stephen Bertolino, the Laundrie family attorney, on another network last night, a telephone interview where I would describe it as several bombshells were dropped during that interview. So we are just working to confirm all of that for ourselves. And so, yeah, a very, very busy day here. I did miss what happened with the Lee County Sheriff earlier.
I want to talk about that. Yep.
If you could bring me up to date.
Well, here's the thing. We didn't learn a whole lot from the Lee County the Lee County Sheriff. The name escaping me, of course. We don't cover Lee County all that much, but I do have the name here in my notes. But the Lee County Sheriff, as well as Northport Police Chief Todd Garrison, holding this press conference where they didn't announce any new information. They commended, of course, the hardworking men and women of law enforcement that have been working diligently on the Brian Laundrie search and what is going on right here in the center of your screen. Eagle 8 HD over Myakkahatchee. You can see the vehicles coming in and out. But the press conference was in large part just there was no new developments announced in that press conference. But here's what I'm going to do. I thought about how to do this because there were so many people tweeting at me on my WFLA JB Twitter account saying, JB, how much time are you going to spend talking about what was virtually a no-show as far as information in that press conference? They did not take questions. They took turns speaking. So here's what I'm going to ask everybody to do. It gives me an idea as to how we can best tailor our coverage to you. Throw a thumbs up emoji in the YouTube Live and Facebook Live comment section here if you would like for us to play back the 3.5-minute press conference, or if you'd like for us to move on to more pressing matters and other developments and Paul Lamison and Eagle 8 HD. Throw a thumbs down. So thumbs up if you want us to play the press conference. Thumbs down if you would like for us to show something else. And all right, I see them coming in. What, you're throwing a thumbs down?
Yeah, I have a very hard cutout here. I have to leave at 1:30. Can Paul Lamison tell us what's happening at the scene quick? I'm very curious.
But we are getting here.
Did the viewers? Come on, guys.
The viewers are coming through here, and I want to make sure that I have this right with the comments that are coming through, and it's actually pretty close. People who are saying, can we do a poll? Can we not do a poll? I'm seeing a lot of thumbs down, a lot of thumbs up. Keep it's really close. You know what? We'll come back to the press conference. Let's do Paul Lamison and Eagle 8 HD first.
Thank you.
Okay, because Masa.
I just want to know what's happening at the scene today.
Yeah, let's get to Paul Lamison, everybody, in Eagle 8 HD. Paul Lamison, of course, the voice of Eagle 8 HD, and he was over Myakkahatchee, and he was able to kind of give us an idea as to what's going on the ground, even from 3,000 feet plus up in the air from Eagle 8 HD. Let's take a listen.
Hey JB, we are over the Carlton Reserve in the area where they found some items from Brian Laundrie as well as human remains. I want to show you a couple areas of focus that they're really narrowing in on. This is the area, remember, where they put the tent up, and it looks like the tent is used to basically hold up this crime scene tape in the area. They have this all searched or all taped off. They haven't really searched it, but we have seen people over. As I move the camera, you see more vehicles down here on the ground. They've been focusing really in this area underneath these trees for the time we've been flying around in this area. And again, there are more vehicles out here than there were before, and we've actually seen activity and people moving around underneath us. There's also a tent set up underneath this tree-lined area as well. We'll give you a shot of that when we come around, but again, here's another vehicle pulling up into place. They've been shuttling back and forth throughout the day, and this car is now coming up. And you see, I can even push in a little tighter for you. And you see law enforcement around that area. They've been combing this area for any evidence that they can find. Again, this is an area that they said was underwater until recently. We really haven't flown over this area too much. We've always been west of it. Even the area by Northport, that's even further west of where we've been flying. So again, this is where they walked down the trail. They found the backpack and the other bag containing some of Brian Laundrie's personal items. And again, this is the area they remain focused on. You see there's vehicles out here. There's even another one over here in the wooded area. What they're doing is now, like they did the grid search, they're doing a grid search in here of the items, and they're making sure they don't miss anything, because that search, they had such a big area to cover, and they actually missed this area. They said it was underwater. It's kind of tough to tell, but I know a lot of the park was underwater. And again, here's law enforcement vehicles out here. They're using this almost as a staging area. And here's a canine vehicle right here as well. You see the dog rides in the back. They're, again, searching for really any evidence, JB, that they can find. And they're over mainly in this area. I'll move the camera over. And again, mainly over in this area. You see them down in this area where they remain searching. They have kind of a pseudo command center set up down here, and they're continuing to look for any evidence, anything they can find, because now they have to really have the evidence and figure out if the body found or the human remains found were indeed Brian Laundrie's human remains, and that's yet to be seen. But again, I'm going to move the camera and show you the big area they're looking at. You see the car right up here. Basically, the car's right here, here, and here. This is the area they're focusing on, and the tent is really just right under this tree-lined area, and that's apparently where the human remains were found. They have drone landing sites set up as well. They've been flying smaller drones out here just to get pictures and an idea of what they're up against during this search. But we'll hope to hear more from the FBI if they find more information. And again, we're waiting for a positive ID of the human remains found. But in the meantime, we're flying over 3,000 feet around this temporary flight restrictions in this area as law enforcement and the FBI look and try to piece together what happened and how long this body's been here, and once the body is identified. But again, we're flying over the Carlton Reserve, JB, and again, I'll just move at the camera and show you the area that we're focusing on. You see the vehicles down below us. That's where they're looking. And here I want to show you this water area. That was a lot bigger before, so the water area there's a creek that flows through here that's up under the trees as well, and that's where they're now focusing their search. And again, JB will let you know if they find anything, but as of right now, they're keeping pretty tight-lipped of what they have and what they haven't found. But again, we're waiting to hear more, and you're getting a bird's eye view of what they're doing down here. But again, just to recap the information from yesterday, a bag containing a notebook, a backpack, as well as human remains found out here in this area of the Carlton Reserve. We're just probably north, kind of east of the Myakkahatchee Environmental Park, and it's really not far at all. So the person they found here really didn't travel far from that area, but again, that's where they're focusing on. And here's the tent I was talking about earlier. You can see it down in the trees. This is kind of ground zero of their search. So JB, I will throw it back to you in Eagle 8 HD. Paul Lamison, 8 on your side for WFLA Now.
Paul Lamison, the voice of Eagle 8 HD. He is back on the ground safely after his trip, of course, to Sarasota County, rural Sarasota County, Myakkahatchee, where, of course, the remains are being examined. The remains that were found near the backpack, near the notebook, near the dry bag. We're going to get into all of that here on WFLA Now. I just had a question come in, and I want to just reference this really quickly as far as the interactivity of our stream here, just because I've never seen this question asked, and I want to just clarify. The ticker on the bottom of the screen where it says new WFLA fans, that is updated in real time. So if all the newest, I think it's the 100 newest WFLA Facebook fans on the not my Facebook page, but the WFLA News Channel 8 Facebook page, their names, yes, do scroll on the bottom of your screen. I want to just clarify that for one of the commenters who was asking about it. 8 on your side investigator Masa Saidi here with us. And what do you make of Paul's report here, Masa? Again, just combing through a lot of what we were talking about yesterday, but also at the same time, the trees providing cover for this area that is now being combed through for evidence. This is now an active scene that they're going to spend the next several days looking through.
Well, I would say I was so upset when he said, and I wrote it down, we really haven't flown over here so much. So this area where human remains, partial unidentified human remains were found yesterday, this area where, according to the FBI, Brian Laundrie's backpack and notebook, according to the Laundrie family attorney, a dry bag, this area where all these discoveries were made, the fact that we don't have visual images over that area, and the fact that this is not where we had been flying over. As you know, JB, we've been flying all over the activity over the past month as the search for Brian Laundrie has continued. I will let you know that according to the medical examiner's office, they are still currently processing that scene. So it sounds like they are still there at the scene, and they have begun the process of identifying the remains to see if this is in fact Brian Laundrie. We saw with the Gabby Petito case that the remains were positively identified on the very day of the autopsy. This could take longer, according to what experts say. I asked the medical examiner when we would have a positive ID, and he said, I don't know. But, you know, just depending on how long these remains had been submerged, if they were in fact submerged in water, what remains have been recovered. All of this could make the process take longer, or we could find out today or possibly tomorrow. So that is on standby there.
So let me reference the reporting that we just had published to WFLA.com. I'm going to read it here from WFLA.com, and big shout out to our digital content producer Heather Monahan, who worked on this story alongside you. The partial remains that were found in Northport this week during the search for Brian Laundrie are being worked on, but there is no timetable yet on how soon the remains will be identified. News Nation's Brian Enton reporting that they do not expect there to be a positive identification on the body today. And so I want to talk about the time frame here, Masa, for a second, because that's the big question on everyone's mind. When are we going to find out these human remains that were discovered? When are we going to find out if that is in fact Brian Laundrie? And this is, I consider today to be really day one, the first full day. Now, yes, they of course discovered the remains yesterday, but really a majority of the work is going to be really going on today. Yes, they began work yesterday. They began work as soon as they got to the scene, but this is the first full day from the moment that they wake up that they know that they have to work here at this scene, and that's why we've seen so many different vehicles pull in, so many different departments being part of this, and so this is day one. Now, a lot of experts have been saying, Masa, that it's routinely about 48 hours. Now, there's things that help the 48-hour timetable. Now, if you start the clock
48 hours
on,
to identify the body?
if you start, yes, 48 hours to identify the body. Now, if you start at the 48-hour cycle yesterday, let's say midday, then we would find out potentially Friday. I think that we can say that Friday is a day that is certainly within the realm of possibility. Tomorrow, yes, tomorrow, that we find out if this is in fact Brian Laundrie. They could extend into the weekend, of course, but there's elements working for and against the Friday possibility. And let me explain for first. This is a high-profile case. They're escalating everything that they can do as far as procedurally here. They're bringing in as many resources. This isn't a normal investigation. This isn't a normal discovery. That's why you have Lee County, you have Sarasota, you have 5, 6, maybe more different law enforcement agencies. Everything has been pooled together to assist the teams that are here to do their job as expeditiously as possible. Now, what works against them? The conditions. Masa, these conditions are, we hear in the press conference from Lee County a short time ago that it's treacherous conditions. Yes, that of course this isn't a lab. These are of course less than optimal conditions for them to be in. They're outside in the Florida heat, and yes, they're under the tree cover, they're in the shade, but it's still, you're in the vast wilderness trying to comb through this active scene. So yes, the samples are going to be sent back to the lab. Yes, there's a lot of work that doesn't get done here on site, but Friday, I think that Friday is a pretty good possibility, though this could extend into the weekend as far as them holding a press conference or releasing a statement or releasing a tweet of some kind where they say this is or is not Brian Laundrie based on preliminary results.
I agree with all of your analysis, and I can promise our viewers that I will do everything possible to try to maintain contact with the coroner's office so we do know when that information is released and a positive ID is made. You mentioned how the conditions are tough as they're trying to collect evidence. We know they're out there today, as Paul Lamison reported earlier, but the conditions are apparently, so difficult to deal with that they were in this area for a month, and according to new information from the Laundrie family attorney, Chris and Roberta notified the FBI on the 17th that Brian's, one of his favorite spots where they should look would be at the bridge that connects the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park to the Carlton Reserve, that is the area that he would often be in. And in fact, now we know, my photojournalist partner, Jim Hockett, spent the morning looking into this. All that activity yesterday that we saw was occurring less than a mile away from that connector bridge. So according to the attorney, from the very beginning, law enforcement was told this is the area that they should look into. So we don't like to second guess law enforcement what they did. They said that this area was submerged. Who knows what the impact of that is on live dogs, on dogs that detect humans that are alive, on dogs that detect remains. We don't want to second guess that, but certainly the conditions out there are challenging, so challenging that this park was opened back up to the public, and only then after that, Chris and Roberta Laundrie were able to come back, look, and make this discovery. And he also gave some new information. JB, I know you and we talked this morning, right?
Yeah.
And said, hey, did you check out that interview on CNN? Because it was a lot of things stood out to both of us in that interview. But we did get some more details about how Chris and Roberta Laundrie told the attorney, hey, we want to go back out now that the park has been opened up, that the attorney texted Northport Police. Northport Police said, thank you for the heads up. No one knew it. But they said, hey, Chris and Roberta are going to be there tomorrow. And when Chris and Roberta showed up, there were 2 law enforcement officers, I believe, from Northport Police Department. They were kind of keeping an eye on them, according to the interview the attorney gave to CNN. And that's when Chris Laundrie went to that location that I just mentioned, about, I would say, a mile less than a mile away from that connector bridge where all that activity was happening. And that is when he found a dry bag. And apparently at that point, according to the attorney, there was no law enforcement around. So he picked it up. There was a news reporter there.
Speaking of reporters, look at the amount of media vehicles that are there today. That's media, mostly media as we understand it.
Yeah, they're expecting an
identification law
enforcement soon. And at that point, Chris Laundrie picked up that dry bag, and at the same time, the law enforcement officers had zigzagged, veered off into that same area. They had found a backpack. They showed a picture of the backpack to the Laundries, and they notified them that human remains were found. Stephen Bertolino said that they were obviously heartbroken, as you would imagine. They're waiting for the positive ID. But that is what Stephen Bertolino said. And the other final thing that I'll say, JB, that really stood out to me is that this entire time there has been a lot of anger at the Laundries for a lot of different reasons. And we've seen that here on WFLA Now. But part of the reason was this narrative that they did not report their child missing. He had a 4-day head start. I mean, that is something that I've even said in my reporting. I've said was not reported until the 17th.
When you add it with the fact that they weren't taking calls from Joe Petito or Nicole Schmidt, it just, you put 2 and 2 together and it does not look good in the public view.
Right. The public did not like that. And again, what I had been reporting was that it was not reported, it was not reported, it was not reported until the 17th. And that is what I was stunned to find the attorney tell CNN last night, that in fact, it was reported on the 13th. Stephen Bertolino says that he personally notified the FBI that Brian Laundrie did not come home on the 13th. Did Northport PD know? Was the FBI communicating with Northport PD? Just a lot of questions. But the fact that this was reported sooner, according to the attorney, just one of the biggest things that I took away from that interview.
Masa Saidi here with us on WFLA Now for a few more minutes.